In 1492, a new world unfolded before the eyes of Europeans, a world teeming with untouched rainforests, abundant deposits of natural minerals, and thriving human populations that had forged impressive empires. The conquistadors, European explorers, were captivated by the sight of the inhabitants of this land adorning themselves with gold and jewels, seemingly unaware of the incredible value placed on these precious metals by their foreign visitors. Before long, rumors began to circulate among the explorers and eventually reached the general population of Europe. Whispers of the boundless gold to be found in this new world gave rise to the belief that if seemingly primitive people could afford to wear such extravagant amounts of gold, then surely there must be more concealed deep within the lush jungle. From this suspicion, tales of a city made entirely of gold, concealed within the mountains and forests, began to circulate in Europe. This legendary city came to be known as El-DORADO. Expeditions were launched into the heart of South and Central America, fortunes were squandered, and countless lives were lost in the relentless pursuit of this mystical place. To this day, the legend of El-Dorado, the City of Gold, stands as one of the most captivating and enduring tales in history. The origins of this captivating tale trace back over 3,000 years ago to around 1270 BCE, in the lowland regions of what is now Colombia. At this time, a group of people known as the Muisca were undergoing a significant transition. They were shifting from a hunter-gatherer society to an agricultural one, migrating into the neighboring mountains where the land was more suitable for cultivating crops. This migration meant displacing ancient civilizations, which have since faded into the annals of history. Once settled, the Muisca formed a loose confederation of smaller tribes, fostering cooperation and trade among themselves. Each tribe had its own leader, but together they recognized the authority of a central leader known as the Zipa. The principal settlement of the Muisca, akin to a capital city, was called Bogotá, a name that persists to this day as the capital city of Colombia. The Muisca, despite their relatively small territory, were far from primitive. They rivaled their more renowned neighbors, the Inca Empire, the Aztec Empire, and the Maya Empire, in terms of technological advancements and societal achievements. A common thread among these civilizations, including the Muisca, was the richness of their mythologies. In the Muisca creation myth, Chimney Gaga cast two black birds out in opposite directions to illuminate the universe, bringing light to everything. Beyond this, Chimney Gaga was believed to have created many deities. Chimney Gaga's association with light extended to objects in the real world, signifying that anything associated with this creator had to be bright and lustrous. Gold, the precious metal we know today, became a symbol of this creator and was deemed sacred beyond measure by the Muisca people. As a means to please Chimney Gaga, offering sacrifices of gold was deemed necessary. No event in Muisca culture demanded more significant reverence and blessings than the appointment of a new Zipa, a spiritual and social leader tasked with maintaining unity within the confederation. During this ceremony, a ritual sacrifice to the gods was performed to appease them. The details of this ritual were first recorded by an outsider in 1638, a man named Juan Rodriguez Friel. Friel, born in Bogotá and intimately acquainted with the remaining Muisca people, was able to describe the ritual of the Zipa sacrifice. The ceremony began with a journey to the Great Lagoon of Guatavita, where offerings and sacrifices were made to a deity regarded as their god and lord. A raft made of rushes was crafted and adorned with the most alluring items they possessed. The Zipa was stripped to his skin and covered in sticky earth, onto which gold dust was applied until he was entirely coated in this precious metal. The Zipa was then placed on the raft, surrounded by a heap of gold and emeralds, offerings to be given to his god. When all preparations were complete, the gilded Zipa cast the entire pile of gold into the center of the lake. This ceremony eventually became the famous El Dorado, and its name's origin is telling. In Spanish, El Dorado translates to the Golden One, a name initially associated with the Zipa covered in gold during this sacred ritual. Therefore, El Dorado was a reference to a person, not a city. Although Friel was the first European to document this ritual, Colombia had already hosted a significant colonial population by 1520. It is likely that some earlier European explorers either witnessed or heard descriptions of this ceremony. The rumors of a place brimming with gold made their way back to Europe, and by 1529, over a century before Friel's account, the Germans, led by Ambrosius Ehinger, embarked on the first expedition into the South American rainforests with the sole purpose of discovering a golden city. This expedition ended in failure when Ehinger was fatally struck by a poison arrow in 1533. Following Ehinger's ill-fated journey, another German conquistador, Nikolaus Federmann, led his own expedition in pursuit of the Golden City. Unlike Ehinger, Federmann survived his expedition, but he ventured into the jungle with over 2,000 men and returned with only 80 survivors. In 1536, Spanish conquistador Gonzalo Jiménez de Quesada led an army of 800 men deep into the Colombian interior, driven by a thirst for more gold. During this expedition, he encountered the Muisca people, who displayed extravagant amounts of gold on their bodies. Convinced that there might be truth to the existence of a golden city, Quesada decided to invade and conquer these people. When questioned, many of the conquered Muisca people spoke of a ritual involving their leader covered in gold while casting gold into a lake. However, due to exaggerations by the Muisca and likely mistranslations by the Spanish, the image of a lake full of gold transformed into a city made entirely of gold, hidden somewhere within the Colombian highlands. As Quesada and his forces invaded Muisca territory, they intensified the oppression of the Muisca people, suppressing their rituals and traditions, including the very ritual that would later become associated with El-DORADO. In an ironic twist, the more the Spanish sought El-DORADO, the more they contributed to its destruction. In 1545, a conquistador named Lázaro Fonte drained Lake Guatavita manually, leading to the discovery of gold artifacts worth $100,000 in today's currency. This successful endeavor fueled the conviction that El-Dorado was real, spurring further expeditions. However, the promise of an entire city made of gold left many unsatisfied. It is noteworthy that despite the discovery of riches in the lake, Sepulveda, the Spanish conquistador who financed the draining of the lake, ended up broke after King Philip II of Spain claimed a substantial portion of the findings. In 1801, Alexander von Humboldt, a renowned Russian scientist, toured the Americas and provided the first modern scientific assessment of the situation. After visiting Guatavita and learning about Sepulveda's findings, Humboldt estimated that the lake might still contain up to $300 million worth of gold. This estimate was sufficient to persuade the contractors of London to form the Company for the Exploitation of the Lagoon of Guatavita, the actual name of the company. In 1895, they dug a tunnel to completely drain the lake. However, what remained was a layer of mud, over a meter thick, making it nearly impossible to explore. As the mud dried and hardened, it became impervious to any attempts at sifting through it. This endeavor yielded only artifacts worth approximately $600, a far cry from the grandeur promised by the legend of El-Dorado. Subsequently, the company filed for bankruptcy. In 1965, the Colombian government prohibited any further attempts to salvage artifacts from the lake. Countless lives were lost, fortunes were squandered, and an entire civilization was vanquished in the relentless pursuit of gold. What makes this story even more ironic is that the region inhabited by the Muisca people was not particularly rich in gold deposits. Their land, however, abounded in salt, emeralds, and copper, and the Muisca people were skilled craftsmen. The vast quantities of gold they accumulated were primarily acquired through trade with the surrounding peoples, who valued the wealth of the Muisca lands.